Okay. So we may or may not get through all of these. There are a couple that have a little bit of, just variation in them. Maybe one of each of these three things, make sure you don't take anything else. One of these. Okay. So I want to start with the very first one because this fixed interval is kind of a new concept for us, and it shows up in quite a few problems. So we have our fixed interval here. Profit. We have topaz and Mustang and Topo. All right, so let's see if we can fill in. The plant has a maximum production capacity of 1,200 cars per week. All right, where does the 1,200 go? Total number, 1,200. During the spring, a dealer orders, hey guys, stop. Guys, sit down, open up Schoology, find it in there. You got them. I don't know where they are. And if you can't find it in Schoology, then just do it on piece of paper. Right, a dealer orders up to 600 topaz. Now, guys, that's your fixed interval. I didn't leave myself enough room here. But what do I know about the number of topazes that I'm ordering? Well, I'm going to call that X. But what do I know about X? The range of X.
It can't be above 600.
It has to be less than 600 or equal to, but bigger than or equal to 0. So that's my fixed interval. X has to be between 0 and 600. Okay? Between 0 and 600. That's my fixed interval. Ramon, we're on the Topaz Mustang problem. And the fixed interval for Topaz is between 0 and 600. Now, what about for Mustangs? What is it for Mustangs? Call that Y. Where is Y? Between 0 and 800? So however many Mustangs I decide to make, it has to be bigger than or equal to 0, less than or equal to 800 in that interval. Profit on Topaz is 500, profit on Mustang is 800. Find the optimum number of each car. Okay, so if I'm the factory, what does it mean by optimum number? And make the most money, right? Ford Motor Company doesn't really care how many cars it makes, as long as it's making the most money possible. So we want to maximize our profit, and how are we going to calculate the profit? Is it 600? No, 500x plus 800y. That's how much money I'm making on my cars. Now, what are my constraints? Well, kids, your fixed intervals are always constraints. So, because aren't the intervals kind of controlling how many cars I'm making? So always, if you have a fixed interval in your problem, and I will clue you in, it will literally say fixed interval, just like it says right here. If you have a fixed interval, that is going to be a constraint. Now, I have another constraint though. What's my other one? the total number of cars I make have to be less than 1,200. Now, what are the two that we put in every problem? X bigger than 0, Y bigger than 0. That's already covered here. If you add it down here, certainly I'm not going to mark that wrong, but since I've already said here they have to be bigger than 0, I'm not going to put them down here. I'm ready to graph. Now, I think I'm going to do this one first, and I'm going to use a scale of 100. 100. I'm going to do this one first. You know how to do this one. We've done this one in all of our problems. If I cover up X, what's Y? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1,200. And if I cover up Y, X is also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1,200. Everybody in agreement there? Connect them with a line as straight as we can make it. And where would that be shaded? Down. Perfect. Perfect. Now, how do I do these fixed intervals? Well, it's actually quite easy. Very easy. These are x's, right? I'm doing x's. So here's my x-axis. Here is where x is 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is where x is 600. Everybody in agreement? Now, simply draw a vertical line down through each of those points. A vertical line down through each of those points. Where would I shade? Now I have two vertical pink lines. Where do I shade them? What?
In between.
In between. Exactly. In between. Where is that X sitting? In between 0 and 600. So you are going to shade everything in between 0 and 600. So right now, we're not done yet. But right now, my overlapped area is this thing right here, right? Now I'm going to throw in on top of that my other fixed interval. Any idea how I'll do that one? Now I'll go to my y-axis, and I put a dot at 0 and a dot at 800. And then guess what I'll draw now? Two horizontal lines. And where will I shade? In between. Now, I am going, I know I've already got part of my overlap, so I'm only going to shade the part that's overlapped. Because I'm getting a lot of stuff in there. It looks to me, look at your picture and see if you agree, that this is my overlapped region. It has to be between these and between these and under that diagonal one. Does that seem good? Now, the nice thing about these fixed intervals is, if you are on this red line right here, then don't we know that your y coordinate is 800? So whatever, I don't know the x here, but I know the y has to be 800. Would everybody agree with me? On that line, y is 800. Think about it on graph paper. Wouldn't that, if you're drawing straight across, wouldn't that y be 800? Now, similarly, if you are on this pink line, aren't all of the X's 600 on this pink line? So now I'm pretty well set, except these missing coordinates, but that's easy. This point is on the purple line. On the purple line, things have to add up to 1200, but I already know that Y is 800. So what does X have to be? 400. And on the red line, I already know, or pink line, I know X is 600, but it's also on the purple, which means it has to add up to 1200. So what's Y? 600. So the nice thing about these are, you don't have to do that substitution and elimination, because if you're horizontal or vertical, we know what either X is or Y is, depending. Okay, so now I have my points. All right, so what are my points? 0, 800, 0, 0, 600, 0, 600, 600, and 400, 800. So I have 5 points this time.
Yeah, we're still there.
All right, so what do I do now? Well, I know I'm not going to do that one, right? Because if I don't make any cars, I don't make any money. Now, I want you to look at these two for a minute. I'm not trying to confuse you. I'm trying to save you some time, maybe. What does this point say? Make 600 topaz and no Mustangs. Now, what does this one say? Make 600 topaz and 600 Mustangs? Well, which one's going to make more money? Won't this one make more money? So you can go ahead and evaluate that, but I know that isn't going to be the winner. I know it's not. Likewise, what about these two? This one says don't make any topaz and 800 Mustangs, or make 400 topaz and 800 Mustangs. Well, clearly, this one's not going to win. I am looking for the biggest profit, right? Now, I have no idea which of these, so I'm going to evaluate them. You can evaluate all 5 if you want to. But if you can kind of look at them and say, whoa, there's no way, then evaluate the ones you think have a chance of being the most. So how do you do that? We take, let's say 600, 600, and we put it in right here, right? So we find the profit. And for 600, I got 780,000. Did I do that right? That seems quite good. That is a lot of cars. That was for 600. Okay? And then I'll do 400, 800. And I actually got 84,000, or 840,000, I mean. Yeah, anybody else get that? Okay. So what are we going to tell the company to do? I need a sentence. So they should sell. Is it sell or make? Yeah. So they should make. What was it? 400 topaz. Is that even a kind of car?
No, it's Type of, like gym. Gym.
Well, I know it's a kind of gem, but I know the Mustang's a car. I don't know, and 400 or 800 Mustangs for a profit of $840,000. All right, let's go to the bicycle motorcycle problem because it has a fixed interval also. So find, it's the third problem. See how it says fixed interval right in the chart? I also left in the chart, put profit here. I don't know why I left that out on this problem. Put that in. And let's see if you can figure out. We've got motorcycles and bicycles. To stay in business, the company must produce at least 10 motorcycles each month. But it does not have facilities to produce more than 60. Okay, stop right there. We're talking about motorcycles. What do I know about motorcycles? I have to make at least 10, but no more than 60. See the interval there? So for motorcycles, my interval is 10 to 60, and I'm gonna let motorcycles be X. The number of motorcycles is X, and it has to be in between 10 and 60. That will automatically be a constraint, so I'll go ahead and add it in here. Okay, now, it cannot make more than 120 bicycles. So what is the fixed interval for bicycles? It can't make more than 120. So what's the minimum? 0. What's the maximum? 120. So for bicycles, it's 0 to 120. Do you see that? I have to make more than 0 or equal to 0, but less than 120. And I'm letting bicycles be Y. The total production cannot exceed 160. That means I can't make more than 120 or 160 vehicles. So where does the 160 go?
Number.
Total number. The profit on a motorcycle is 134, and a bicycle is 20. Find the number of each that should maximize profit. How will I find my profit? 134x plus 20y. All right, I got another fixed interval here I didn't add in. Are there any other constraints? Yeah, right there. What does that say? X plus y has to be less than or equal to 160. Now, if you put x greater than 0 or y greater than 0, I'm not going to mark it wrong, but that's already covered, so I'm not going to include it in mine. But it's part of so many problems that if you put it in, that's fine. All right, so let's graph. looking at these numbers, maybe use 10 as my scale. Does that seem okay? Use 10? All right, so here we go. I'll do this one right here in purple. All right, who remembers how I graphed that? These are my X's now. So what do? I go to my x-axis, and I put a dot at 10, 11, 12, or 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And a dot at 60. And right there, X is between 10 and 60. So I have a dot on my x-axis at 10 and one at 60. Okay, now what do? Draw a vertical line down through each one. And down through each one. Oh my gosh, I totally missed that. Where do I shade now? In between. Because it says X is between 10 and 60. So I hope it kind of makes sense to you that that's where you are. You're somewhere in that bar right there. Now, what am I going to do for this one? Y-axis, dot at 0, and a dot at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then what? Draw horizontal lines. And where is the red shaded? In between? Now, because my board, believe it or not, they were washed this morning, and this just makes it such a mess. I have to be in between the red. So would it be okay with you if I just shaded this right here? Because isn't that the overlapping part between the reds? Okay? Now I gotta do this one. So that one's gonna be diagonal, that is not a fixed interval, that has both letters in it, so it's gonna be a diagonal line. So if X is 0, Y is 160, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Supposed to be a straight line. Oh, this is. You think I'd be good at this after all these years? It's supposed to be a straight line. Where's that one shaded? Underneath. Okay, but now remember, we already said our overlap area was this box right here. So we have to be inside the box, but we also have to be underneath the pink. So if we're under the pink and inside the box, do you agree that the area I'm looking at, inside the box, under the pink, would be that right there? so some of those points I know. I know 0, 120. I know 10, 0. And 60, 0. I do not know these 2 points. But guys, you know part of them, right? You know part of those 2 points. I need to take attendance, I haven't done that. Missing Uretzi and Owen. And Jade. And Amaya, okay. All right, folks, what can you tell me? Let's just pick right here. What can you tell me about this point right here? X is 60, good. Now, it's on the pink line. If you are on the pink line, you have to add up to 160. So if you know X is 60, then Y must be 100. So that's another one of your points. Now what about up here? What do we know about this point? Look, he's on the red horizontal line. What do we know about red horizontal lines? Y is 120. But he's on the pink also. And what is true about the pinks? They add up to 160. So X has to be 40. Now, at this point, your job is to figure out which of those gives me the maximum profit. You can absolutely take each point and put it into your calculator. But often with these, there are some that just don't make sense. For example, look at these 2 points. What do these 2 points have in common? We're making 60 motorcycles. Well, if I make 60 motorcycles and no bikes, or I make 60 motorcycles and 100 bikes, which one's gonna make me the most money? This one, right? So I'm not gonna waste my time typing that in, but you can. You can. If what I'm saying right now is confusing you, then put them all in and pick the biggest one. Now, both of these right here say make 120 bicycles. You see that? This one says no motorcycles, and this one says 40 motorcycles. Which is going to be better for me? This one, right? So I'm going to cross that out. What about that guy right there? No, that doesn't make any, I mean, that is not gonna be the biggest. Would you agree with me? That's gonna be your minimum. That's gonna be your smallest. Because we already crossed out 60, 0. No way is 10, 0 gonna be bigger than that. So the answer is one of these. One of those right there. So 60 X's. I got $10,040 for this one, if I typed it in right. And I got $77.60 for that one, if I typed it correctly. Anybody match those numbers? So what are we gonna tell these people to do? They should make 60 motorcycles and 100 bikes for a profit of $10,040. Alright. Let's see, which one of these others do we want to do? do the cake problem, let's do the last one. We'll do this one together, and then if we have time, you and your partner can work on that there, the other one, the one that we're missing. And I'll hand back some papers then. All right, here we go. This is problem, well, it says 23, because I copied it out somewhere, but we're making cakes. Cakes are round and edible. So we have yellow, we have strawberry, we have number, we have production time, we have income. All right, Jenny's Bakery makes two kinds of birthday cakes, yellow, okay, yellow sells for 25. Strawberry sells for 35. Okay, decorating and assembly time, production time, in other words. Production time for yellow is 2. And production time for strawberry is 3. I have 450 hours of labor available. Where does that go? 450 total production time. I want to maximize my revenue. Revenue is income. That's how much you bring in. So revenue or income, I want to maximize it. You need at least 50 yellow cakes. So if I let X be yellow, what can you tell me about the number of yellow cakes I'm making? Greater than or equal to 50. So this is like a fixed interval, only there's no top on it. Greater than or equal to 50. However many yellow cakes I make, it has to be greater than or equal to 50. Now what about strawberry cakes? If I let Y be strawberry, what do I know about the number of strawberry cakes I make? Has to be greater than or equal to 100. Do I know how many total cakes I can make? Nope, I don't know. I know I gotta make at least 50 yellows and at least 150 strawberries, but after that, I don't know. So I'm done with the chart. Remember, kids, the chart is used to categorize all the numbers. If there are empty spots, so be it. Every number goes in the chart. After that, okay. Is every number in the chart? Yeah, so I'm ready to go. All right, how do I find my max revenue? 25x plus 35y. And we don't graph that one. We don't graph that one. And we wait and plug into that one. What are my constraints? Well, x has to be bigger than or equal to 50. Y has to be bigger than or equal to 100. And what else? There's one more. 2x plus 3y is less than or greater than? Less than. Guys, I only have 450 hours. Can I work more than 450? Nope. All my people go home. That's all I got, 450 hours. So whatever I work has to be less than that. So this is our first problem that's gonna have some shading above and some shading below. Do I need to include x and y bigger than 0? No, because I already know they're bigger than 50 and bigger than 100. But if you include them, I'm not gonna count it wrong. But I don't need them this time. All right, so here we go. Looks like I better use 10s. Yeah, probably 10s. This is gonna be kind of big right here, but That's right, I'll use tens and make them kind of close together. So if x has to be bigger than or equal to 50, I'm gonna count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 50. Vertical line. This time there's only one of them, one vertical line. But which way am I shading? That way. So all of this is shaded in. That was red. Now, every point on that red line has an X that's 50. Here's 50, 10, 50, 20, 50, 30, right? Every one has an X that's 50. All right, now Y has to be bigger than 100. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What kind of line will that be? Horizontal. And where will that be shaded? Above? So are we all okay? I'm not shading because, look at me, I'm a mess, the board's a mess. This area right out here is what we're talking about. We're to the right of red and above purple, so we're in this area right here. Okay, now on top of all that, we're gonna throw in the pink. The pink will be diagonal. If your equation has both letters, then you're gonna have a dot on each axis and you're gonna be diagonal. So if I cover up X, Y is 3Y equals 450. So Y would be 150. So there's 100, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 right here. There's my Y. And then if I cover up Y, that's gonna be 225. So there's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 21, 22, 23. So right here, 225, in between 22 and 23. Pretty pink is running out. And where is that one shaded? Below. So remember, we're talking about this space out here, right? But now I have to be below the pink. So I'm right of the red, above the purple, and below the pink. Do you see the shape? This guy right here. I see a triangle. I see one too. So, take a look at this point right here. Super simple to identify. Because if you're on red, your X is 50. So not only does this have a 50X, this one has a 50X. If you are on red, your X is 50. What if you're on purple? Your Y is 100. So I have that point. Now, these two are both on pink. And what do I know about pink? I know that 2x plus 3y is 450. So if you look at this one, x is 50. So what if I put 50 in for x? 100 plus 3y equals 450. Right? If I put in 50 here, 2 times 50. All right, so figure out what y is. Use your calculator. It'll probably be a decimal, which is fine. What does it turn out to be? 16.6. Actually, would it be 7, or is it?
Yeah.
Now do the same thing, but now we're gonna plug in 100 for y in our pink equation. So 100 for y would be 2x plus 300 equals 450. I think that's 75, but double check my arithmetic. Okay,
Is the 16.7 supposed to be 1?
166.7, yeah.
No, it's
166, 116.
Or 116.7. Okay, I got it right now. Do I?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, so now we gotta figure out how many cakes we need to make. So looking at our 3 points, I think there is one of them that if you want, you can throw out. Again, you don't have to throw out any, okay? You don't have to throw out any if you don't want to. But looking at these, which one do you think we could just throw out right off the bat if we wanted to? The middle one?
Yeah.
Because here I'd be making more strawberries, and here I'd be making more yellows.
You ready to top one?
I can get rid of the top one.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm not comfortable with that. It might be, Jose. These to me are obvious because I'm making the same number of yellows and more strawberries here, or the same number of strawberries and more yellows. But these two I have a hard time comparing, so I'm gonna come over and put it in. So 25 times 50 plus 35 times 116.7. We'll talk about that in a second. If that's the winner, we'll talk about it. And then 75 times 25 and 100 times 45. Well, it was a close competition, but I think Jose was right. I think that's the right answer, isn't it? Did I type it right?
That's right.
Okay, now I want to talk about this real quick. If this one had been the winner, we would have to adjust our statement that we write, because if this one were the winner, we're not going to tell her to make 116.7 cakes, right? So we would tell her, you need to make 50 yellows and 116 strawberries. We can't round up because then we'll be over our hours. So we would have to round it down. As it is, we don't need to worry about it because it wasn't our answer. Our answer is, she should make 75 yellows and 100 strawberries for a profit of $5,375. Okay? All right, there's one problem to go. I skipped over it. It is the playhouse and shed problem. Take a minute with you and your partner and see if you can fill in the chart.